After the release of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Michael Ozekhome, Law Weekly again looks at the issues of security in the country. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Oyetibo, is our guest on this week's episode of the program. He gives his perspective on the whole security challenge, and he also talks about political parties and how best the courts can entertain the numerous applications before them. Welcome to Law Weekly on Channels Television. I am Shola Shayeli. Before we get into all those issues, let's do a quick recap of some of the top legal stories in the news. We begin with the report that the Taraba State High Court has fixed the 17th of September to hear a suit filed by the State Governor Dambaba Sintai against the Speaker and the Taraba State House of Assembly. In the suit, the Governor wants the court to determine whether by virtue of Section 190 subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the State House of Assembly can by press release or debate interfere with, do anything whatsoever in connection with or in relation to the letter transmitted by the Governor to the Speaker of the State House of Assembly pursuant to the said section of the Constitution. The Governor is seeking a declaration that the letter is absolute, mandatory, and cannot be debated or contradicted by any means, and has automatically assumed his powers and responsibilities as Governor of Taraba State. Hearing in the suit last week Thursday suffered a setback owing to the late response of the Governor's Council to the preliminary objections of the defense. The court, in the spirit of fair hearing, adjourned the proceedings till Tuesday to allow all parties have the time and opportunity to respond to processes served in the matter. From Taraba, we move to Anambra State politics. A federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, last week ordered the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to recognize Senator Ajudua as the PDP candidate in the Anambra governorship elections. Justice Ajudua gave the order while ruling on an interlocutory application for recognition brought by the Anambra State factional chairman of the PDP, Ejike Ogwebego. The court also directed INEC to identify with the Ejike faction, which produced Uba, just as he ordered the faction and the National Working Committee of the PDP to maintain status quo in the matter, pending the determination of the substantive suit. Staying with the PDP, a federal high court sitting in Abuja last week Friday turned down a request by the Bamanga Chukwu faction seeking to restrain the Abubakar Baraje faction from parading itself as a recognized faction of the party. Justice Elvis Chukwu has however consolidated the application by the Baraje faction challenging its jurisdiction and the substantive suit by the Chukwu faction seeking to stop the other faction from parading itself as the executives of the party. Hearing in the matter was then fixed for the 20th of September. In Lagos, the High Court sitting in Ikeja last week Monday rejected an oral application by the Baraje faction seeking an order for the reopening of its secretariat in Abuja, which was closed by the police. Justice Ganiyu Safari instead directed the faction to file a different application, joining the Inspector General of Police as defendant. The Baraje faction in the suit, similar to the one filed by the Tuko faction in Abuja, wants the court to restrain the Tuko faction from parading themselves as the National Executive Council of the PDP. The court has also reiterated its previous order that both parties should maintain the status quo pending the determination of the matter before adjourning till the 17th of September. Away from political matters, we round off with a report that Justice Ganiyu Safari last week also granted bail to suspected fraudster Fred Ajudua. The bail was granted in the sum of 50 million naira with two sureties in like sum on the grounds of the suspect's failing health. After initially jumping bail in 2005 and stalling his trial for over 7 years, Justice Safari held that Ajudua's ill health constituted an exceptional circumstance for the court to grant him bail. The court noted that Ajudua was suffering from complicated ailments which needed proper medical treatment unavailable at the prison facility. Trial on the fraud charges is however expected to continue on the 24th of September before trial judge Justice Olubunmi Oyewole.
You see, life has just got easier. You stay connected to Channels TV, where news and innovations are shaping our world. Simply log on to channelstv.com to get the breaking news. Browse the homepage according to what matters to you. Tap on the extended coverage of business, sports, politics, lifestyle, infotech, entertainment, health, world news, and lots more. Click on the live link and see the news in real time. Do you want to watch the latest video of the day? It's just a click away. Friend us on Facebook, YouTube, follow us on Twitter, Google+, participate in Channels TV poll and share your comments. It's a website you can talk to. Your voice will be heard.
channelstv.com. The news at your fingertips.
Days after he was abducted, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Chief Michael Ozekhome last week Thursday returned to the warm embrace of his family and friends. The lawyer, who said he will never forget his experience in the hands of his abductors, narrated his ordeal to journalists in his house in Lagos.
Our ordeal began on Friday, the 23rd of August. 2013. I was not traveling in the night. I want Nigerians to know the danger that we are into. I was not traveling in the wee hours of the morning. I left Benin past 2 p.m. in the afternoon baking sun. On my way to my town, Ivukwe, and to see some friends. We ran into a vehicle had already been used to block the road. And my driver said, God bless my driver, I didn't mention his name, Chinedu. He went through all the ordeal with me. Young man, I adopt you as my son. God bless you. He's in Benin now. He said, Oga, people like saying that armed robbers. Then I said, then turn the car, reverse. As he put it on reverse, a gun was on my head. Automatic weapon. And they said, don't move. If you move an inch, we blast you. I told Chinedu, don't move. They dragged me out of the car. Dragged Chinedu out of the car. Shot the tire of the vehicle. Put Chinedu in the boot of the car. And put me inside the car. They met another driver inside. They said if we dare look up, they will kill us. We closed our eyes. And we were pressed to the ground inside the car. As we were pressed down, I heard them say, oh, police, 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 police. Then one of them said, no retreat, no surrender, let's meet them. Because I couldn't look up, apparently, they moved out of the car. And I could hear guns booming. It was a staccato of bullets raining. Here comes Armageddon. It was a war situation. And they were firing. And as they were firing, the car was moving. They were telling them advance, advance a little. Then I heard them shout again, another vehicle, shoot. Then they started another round of. And then I heard them say, oh, we killed some of them. We killed some of them. Then tomorrow now, they will come out and lie and say some of us were killed or injured, even though none of us have been injured. I heard them saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, the good news that we have been delivered safe and unhurt and unharmed and in one piece. The bad news that I was not profiled, we were never profiled or targeted, meaning that they merely operated randomly. It is bad news because it could have been any person, any other person. news because it was when we were in the car with eyes closed that they started preliminary questions. What is your name? I said, Chief Michael Ozekhome, SAM. They searched my pocket, took out the complimentary cards and other possession. I heard the card, I said, what is your full name? I said, my full name is Chief Michael Ozekhome, SAM. Constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, Akpakpa Bigibiadola. They said, yes. They said, yes, you are a man of truth. That's what is written on your card. I didn't even know they were holding my card. They said, so you are a lawyer? I said, yes, sir. How long have you practiced? I said, 32 years. I said, well, even if you tell us lies, by tomorrow, we know who you are. Do you know what? We always know who you are when we capture, when we kidnap people through the press. So even if you lie, we are going to know who you are tomorrow. That is how we were driven for about 4.5 hours. Through rough roads, through highways, you could feel it on the body that you are on a highway. You could feel it on the body that you are on a rocky path. You could feel it on the body that you are in a swamp. You could feel it on the body that you are inside a forest, that you are on a footpath that is not tarred. About 4.5 hours. Before they dumped us in a small, uncompleted building, far away from civilization. As a matter of extreme urgency, I want the federal government to immediately, as urgent as yesterday, grant amnesty to all kidnappers and institute an amnesty program for them to come out of the jungles, remove their hoods and masks, drop their guns, give their guns, deliver up their guns to the government, and come to a round table conference, a round table meeting. They said some of them are remnants of those that they feel justice has not been done to.
Now, like Chief Ozekhome, my guest, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Tayo Oyetibo, is also a prominent member of the Gani Fawemi Chambers Alumni Association. In fact, Mr. Oyetibo rose to become the deputy head of the chambers before leaving to establish his chambers in 1991. A highly respected and seasoned legal practitioner, renowned for his integrity and professional competence, Tayo Oyetibo, SAN, joins me on the program now. You were one of those who called for the release of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Michael Ozekhome. Now he's been released, he's come out to recount his ordeal. What do you make of the news of his ordeal and this whole security situation in the country?
I'll tell you, I think it's a sociological problem. Even though the security of the nation is being threatened, but we must look beyond the immediate incident. What are the causes? When you have a problem of this nature, the government must go beyond the incidents that are mere effects of a sociological problem. What are these problems? I'll tell you a story. Recently, I was being told of a scholarship program which took place somewhere in Ondo State. And most of the students who came to apply for scholarship said that they had to drop out of school, some because of 1,000 naira, some couldn't even pay 500 naira, some couldn't pay 3,000 naira. When you have that at the back of your mind, you open the pages of newspapers today and you find that one governor has stolen 10 billion naira, another one has stolen 3 billion naira, the other one has stolen 5 billion naira. There's a pension fraud somewhere, somebody who is supposed to make money available to pensioners, those who have served this nation when they were well alert and they believe that they should be able to rest assured when they retire that they will get their pension. And somebody sits somewhere in the comfort of his office and grabs all the money. When you take all of this together, you cannot but have this type of problem. And that essentially is where the government should focus on. You have to provide education for the people. When they leave school, you must provide jobs for them. They say, devil finds work for the idle hand, idle mind. So this is a sociological problem, a big problem in the hands of the government that we have to look beyond the immediate effect and probe deeper and be able to solve our problems ahead. Because this is the beginning. It's Ozekhome today, it could be anybody tomorrow.
Would you say that the state of emergency declared in some states is working?
Kidnapping has nothing to do with. Kidnapping happens almost everywhere in Nigeria. It means you are going to declare a state of emergency all over Nigeria. So it's not a question of state of emergency. You could have a state of emergency where there's a breakdown, or a complete breakdown of law and order, as you had in some states in the northeast, Gombe, Borno, and some other states. That's understandable because of the exigencies of the situation. But when it comes to this security problem, it's not a question of a state of emergency. If you are going to declare a state of emergency, you declare a state of emergency in the security sector. Okay? Overhaul the entire police system of this country. I've always argued that you cannot have a central command in a nation of this nature, as big as this, and have an efficient and effective police. It's not possible. It's not going to work.
Now, what you've said was also one of the suggestions put forward by Chief Michael Ozekhome, and some people have also made that argument that one way out of this security crisis is for the National Assembly to amend the Constitution to pave way for the establishment of a state police.
Even as far back as when the National Assembly was having their conference in Asaba, which was last year, I did say so in my paper which I presented, that look, the police, we must come to terms with the reality of the situation. The Nigeria police cannot be efficient as it is presently constituted. It's not the problem of it's not the problem of the force alone, because you have a centrally commanded police force located in Abuja. Look at the size of Nigeria. Where would you find that type of system where the nation will be policed from the central command? It's not going to work.
What about the arguments by some people that we've seen what the state governors are doing with the independent electoral commissions in their care, that is it not substituting one evil for the other?
Well, I'm conscious of that problem. There will be such problems in the beginning. But with time, if we don't start it, there is no time you will start there, you don't get abuses. People will abuse the system. But with maturity, with time, we will overgrow all those abuses. And there will be checks and balances. I had argued that there should be a police arms commission, so that each state will have to pass through the central command to vet the arms that you are bringing in for your state. It's not just going to be a completely independent state police system. There will still be a central command, a central commission. If you are importing arms into your state for the purpose of the use of the police, you must go through that commission that will vet it. There's a database, all that is coming in, and we look at the type of arms you are bringing. It's not such a set of arms that could threaten national security. It must be arms that could fight crime. So all those will be controlled, and there will be checks and balances. There will be checks and balances in the sense that for certain offenses, the federal government will still be responsible, and there are certain things that the state cannot do. And where, for example, where there is an offender that crosses the border to another state, there must be cooperation between the state and the other. You don't commit a crime in one state, run into another state, and think that is the end of it. Then the federal comes in. But there's no way we can have this type of police system and we expect the best from the police. It can't work.
One of the suggestions put forward by Chief Ozekhome was that his abductors are demanding that government should offer them amnesty, as was done to some other armed groups. What do you make of this demand?
Well, you see, my understanding of amnesty is that if you are going to grant amnesty, you must know the people involved. The kidnappers, if they are willing to lay down arms and stop the kidnapping, of course, why shouldn't the government grant amnesty? Let them come forward. If they are able to come forward and involve the government, make suggestions. Why are they doing this? Do you follow that? If they are able to come forward, but government must be able to know the people behind the kidnapping for you to come forward with amnesty. Otherwise, it's just going to be a nebulous concept. Yeah, I've granted an amnesty. Who are you granting the amnesty? Who are the beneficiaries of the amnesty? Do we know their identities? You use the Niger Delta example. People knew the Niger Delta militants. They knew their names. They knew their families. They knew the address where they live. So it was, if you look back, the names of the Niger Delta militants that were being mentioned in those days are still the same names that have been mentioned today, which means they are known. So you could say if you are granting amnesty to Mr. X, Mr. X could be approached to say, okay, Tell your followers, lay down your arms, come forward, we'll grant you amnesty. But tell me the kidnappers that are going to be granted amnesty as of today. So if you grant amnesty, it's just going to be a nebulous concept. The beneficiaries are not known.
Now, away from this whole issue of security, let's talk about the political crisis, especially the one that's affecting the ruling PDP and some of the other parties. We've seen different applications, different motions flying around in courts, and with different pronouncements even emerging from some of the courts of the same jurisdiction. Now, there are some people who think that the court is not the best place to resolve some of these political disputes. What do you think?
Ordinarily, the court should be insulated from politics because politics at times could be dirty. But having said that, if there is a legal problem that has arisen in the course of playing politics, where else do you go? You go to the court. Because it is only the court that can resolve problems, legal problems that have arisen where there is an interrelationship between the two or more people. Politicians must learn to respect one another. They disrespect themselves so much. If there is a legal problem and you readily submit to the jurisdiction of the court, do not abuse the process. A legal problem coming out of politics is like any other legal problem. If you don't corrupt the system, if you don't abuse the system, you get justice. So I don't believe in asking people to stay away from court. Because
so political solutions.
Well, political solution, when you talk of political solution, if you stick to your gun and I stick to my gun, if I say, for example, that you held a convention and the convention was not valid or was not constitutionally held, your party, political party, has a constitution. Okay? So, who will interpret it for us?
The elders of the party?
The elders of the party. This is what I was saying.
They're trying to do now.
No, I'm not even using the PDP as my focus. I'm just speaking generally that where there is a problem that has legal content, you cannot but involve the court. What is important is that the court must be able to hold its own, must be able to hold its head above the political maneuverings that politicians do. For example, you find that a case that has no content, no connection with a particular judicial division is filed before a court. The judge should be able to see through it. Why are you before me? Go back to your appropriate judicial division. Why should you bring your case to me? A case, take for example, if there is a problem in Ondo State, Akure, you go to Abuja to go and sue. The judge in Abuja should be able to tell the politicians, go back to your judicial division. I cannot take a problem that involves...
Recently, we're finding that that is not the case.
That's what I'm saying.
So what's the solution?
I said the politicians abuse the system. Because you know that this is where your case arose from. Why go to a different division?
When a judge in that division takes up the case, then what is the solution?
The judge applies the law. Each political party has its own constitution. If it's a constitutional matter, all the judge needs to do is to apply the law of the land, as well as the law of the party. The law of the party is the constitution.
When the judges don't do that and they assume jurisdiction on such cases, even when it's not a case that should come within their jurisdiction.
That's where the court should raise its head above political waters. Don't swim in political water because you could get consumed. A judge should be able to live up to the oath of his office. And the oath of your office is that you will do justice to all manner of men without ill feeling. Okay? And where facts are presented to you, you will not use the law in the negative way. You will not give justice or you will not give judgment to a man who is not entitled to it based on the facts presented to you. Where you have done that, you have perverted justice. A judge should be able to move away from the perversion of justice. Once you are able to do that, you could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. A judge could be wrong. And that is why you have the hierarchy of courts. If the judge has done all of that, but is still found to be wrong, you go to the next level, which is the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. But what is important is that a judge should at all times keep his head above political waters.
That's our interview segment and the program this week. If you missed any part of the program, you can watch again by logging into youtube.com/channelsweb. Please send in any comments via email or Facebook, and do follow me on Twitter. I'm Shola Shoyeli. Thank you for watching.